Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inside Texas pregame show brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Texas Homer here. Landon from the Lando Show and Coach Dub. We are here for the pregame for the biggest game of the year. We're just going to hang out. Pretty chill. Nothing crazy on this show. We just kind of talk about the upcoming game and hang out, and so we can dissipate our nervousness. Ashley Hookham, Gaddis, Elio, Allen, Mr. Scarlett, Jacob, Longhorn in Omaha. What's up, guys? Brett Nelson already with the prediction: Texas 31, Ohio State 27. All right.
Wait, are you sure about that, Brett? Because I've been told that Texas needs a miracle. So apparently they have no chance. I don't think that's possible, but I'll take it if that's true.
How you feeling, Lando? You feeling like the upsets on the table here? Likely, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to say likely. I just know that the national narrative is, I think it's just kind of been blown out of proportion. And I'd say that it's been likely akin to just a prisoner of the moment type of situation, right? Based on, and I mentioned this yesterday, everybody sat with their families, with their friends, whoever, on New Year's Day, had the day off, and watched football all day long. They watched Texas play Arizona State, and they watched Texas need 2 overtimes to beat a 14-point underdog. And then they subsequently sat there and watched Ohio State handle Oregon, the number 1 team in the country, the way that everybody thought Texas would have or should have handled Arizona State. And so it's just like, okay, out of nowhere, it's all of a sudden we're looking at spreads and results. Everybody's just dialed in on both games at the same time. It's just like all of a sudden Texas can't do it. When November 30th, just 3 weeks prior to last week's game, these same people that are saying these things, including members of Ohio State's own fan base, were talking about fire Ryan Day and this team has no chance. So here we are.
The pendulum.
All I'm saying is, upset or not, the narrative is it's drastically overblown. It's out of proportion. So
yeah, Texas would have been the favorite a couple weeks ago, but it is crazy how emotional it is because remember Oregon was the scary one, and they beat the brakes off of Oregon, and then it's totally switched now. And I think Ohio State's very, very hot, but it's like, are they hot because they're going to continue this trend through the playoffs and win the national championship, or is it likely to have a third game where you play that well? I don't know. We'll find out in an hour, but it is crazy how fast it switched up. And I think you had a tweet, right, showing the betting lines. I can't remember. Are the money it's like 90% money line on Ohio State? That shows me that's a lot of trend casting.
It is
opposed to pure analysis here, because Texas is better than a 10% money bet.
And here's the thing too, man. Even if the narrative was correct and it wasn't some prisoner of the moment situation, Texas fans know better. We just learned this lesson last week,
right? About
a team that has no chance in a football game of this magnitude. What happened?
Good
we
point.
all watched Arizona State play. So either way, it's flawed to me. But yeah, let's give real football analysis here, and let's have some fun.
No, we got to do the Arizona State myth. Our heart's gonna win it. Yeah. All of that, the underdog spirit is what. Yeah. Coach, how are you feeling off the bat? Notice how I made both of you guys go first before I go.
I love it.
Yeah. I had a little butterflies in my stomach, a little anxious at first, but now I'm kind of at peace about it, man. Look, it's football at the end of the day. If you trust your team, which we do, then we know that Texas is going to show up, right? It doesn't matter what you look like in the previous game. Only thing that matters is this game. And I think, like you said, everybody's betting on Ohio State based on the last 2 performances, but and how we played versus Clemson and Arizona State. And I get it. Sometimes your eyes can lie to you, or maybe they don't, but that's what you can remember from the last performance. And so I feel at peace about the game. I feel like Texas is going to come out and play hard. They're going to get Ohio State's best game, but Ohio State's going to get Texas' best game too, right? I feel like Texas rises to the occasion to play good teams. We may play down to other teams, but when it's time to play versus good teams, we play up. And so I feel good, man. I feel at peace, and I feel like these guys are just going to go out here and ball out. I don't pay attention to the outside noise, honestly, because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. And so, man, let's just kick this thing off. Let's go, because I'm ready to see it.
I was telling you guys before the show that I have no read on this game.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel. I have a weird feeling about it, and I don't know if that weird feeling means Texas is going to upset or Texas is going to get beat by 4 touchdowns. I just know that, like, I don't have a strong read on this one. Normally I do, and I've oscillated. Like, earlier in this week, I was texting Ian, and I was like, I think we're going to beat them. Then Wednesday, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to do it. Thursday night, I'm like, maybe. So I just don't listen to me, guys. I have no idea with this game. We'll see where it's at.
Well, so that's the natural tendency just from the entire community, but even from us, the people of Inside Texas, right? When we're going through breaking down these matchups week to week, we start the week off hyper focused on the opponent and what they do well, and so like there's this subconscious mentality of, oh dang, like that's a threat, this is a threat, wow, they're elite at this, here's what they do well, they don't really have any holes. But then you really start to break down the matchup, and then you start to give yourself examples and like what you would do, how you would approach this game schematically if you're a coach from anybody on this roster, even if you're a player, some of the things that you can do based on your strengths. And then so it's like you start off hyper focused on the opponent, and then throughout the week you build up more and more as it gets closer and closer into, okay, what can Texas do to combat their strengths and how do we attack them and that type of thing. And so just you start to realize the closer that it gets to game time that every team has flaws, every team has holes, no team is perfect, and you gotta put 4 quarters together. And I know that sounds like a lot for this Texas team who struggled in the third quarter so much this season, but and Ohio State's been one of the best coming out of the gates and at halftime. So that's definitely something that worth noting. But it's fun just to watch the ebbs and flows of the preparation as the week progresses. I love that.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, because it's like the things that worry me about Texas is not being outmatched. It's that Texas will do something dumb in the penalty game. It won't do something in the third quarter, and we've seen that that's inelastic. It doesn't matter who we play. So it's not an opponent thing. I'm not super. I mean, the run game we could get shut down, but a lot of the stuff is Texas shooting its own foot. And if Texas plays to the high end of their capabilities, or we just have one game where we're not doing very dumb stuff, then it's a totally different thing, because the athlete level here is like, this is not a G5 trying to upset somebody. Like, they have like 11 draft picks, we have 10 or something like that, according to the NFL.
That's just in the top 3 rounds.
Exactly, in the first 3 rounds. So it's not like there's not this talent deficit here. I'm not worried about that. It's just, if Texas plays clean, I think you got a game. But like we said, we've also seen Texas repeatedly not do that. So that's where it's tricky. Outside zone kind of freaks me out. But Landon picked up well whenever we were doing interviews. When was that? Wednesday, when we were doing player interviews or something?
Yep.
Yeah, Wednesday. A lot of people were asking Flood in that media huddle, like, hey, are you aware how good Ohio State is at stopping the run? Hint, hint. Like, what are we going to do, you know? And you pointed out, Landon, that you picked it up, that Flood was basically gesturing like, yes, we are aware we need run game diversity. We're not going to try to brick wall this. Like, they're the number 1 run defense in the country with outside zone. Outside zone's our number 1 run play. So we're going to need to run other run plays if they take away our fastball. And it sounded like Flood is aware of that. And so that part's good, right? You get worried that when coaches are playing at this high a level, they're also successful, that like, they're like, we're going to play our style no matter what, play ego ball and run into a brick wall. But it doesn't seem like we're doing that from the answers of the coaches. So I do feel good about that.
I do too. Do you want to spend a couple minutes just acknowledging why that is, as far as the outside zone, like why Ohio State is so elite at defending it? So they just, outside zone is a lateral run play. The line runs left or right. They'll call it like elephants on parade. You'll see a bunch of big guys just get up and move left and get up or move right. Well, Ohio State has these really powerful defensive ends that can anchor and stop you from getting outside of them. So that's going to force your running back inside. You're not going to be able to get around their defense. The edges set the edge hard is what you're saying.
Right. And they're going to contain the running back. And then they have these big linebackers. And then most importantly, they have really active run game safeties in Ransom and Downs. And so those safeties will then, once you've been funneled to the middle of that, the safeties will come down and make plays. So that's what makes it really hard to run at period against them, but specifically that style of play. So that's the tough part about that with Ohio State. And we saw it get shut down with Georgia twice and Arizona State. To me, this is a pass game. This is a Quinn game. Throw 40 plus times.
Yeah.
that kind of thing is my concept. Coach, what are you thinking schematically, how we match up?
I was saying the way they play outside zone and on the interior, those guys usually you're taught to play kind of down the line of scrimmage. They get vertical and get pushed, right? So there's no cutback lanes. Like, because when you play down the line, you open up gaps and running back and kind of read it and cut back. They kind of get vertical and push the interior guys backwards. So there's no cutback, i.e. like Georgia did, right? That's how you control line of scrimmage. When those guys are pulling, trying to move, push them back. Running back has nowhere to go. And so I think Ohio State does a great job across the line doing that. But that's going to make it hard for inside zone too. So what do you run against Ohio State? I think you got to use motion maybe to get the back end, maybe let them have dirty eyes so they don't know exactly what's going on. Some counter, I don't know, something, maybe not counter, but misdirection, something I think will be the key. And then throw it to the perimeter. I think that's your run game, honestly. We've been good all year with yards after catch. Every receiver, they break the first tackle. So I think let's trust our athletes versus their athletes in space on the outside, much like we did Vanderbilt, much like we did everybody else. I'm not saying Ohio State's Vanderbilt, but I feel like our athletes are more superior on the outside versus Ohio State. So that's what I would do. Perimeter passing, quick screen, bubble screen, something like that.
Building off of that too, before we get to this question here from Matthew Miller, and thank you for the super chat, Matthew. Appreciate that. The run game stuff, as far as eye candy, with guys that flow downhill and laterally, as well as this team does from the second and the third levels, with those edges that set things so hard. Obviously, eye candy with the misdirection is necessary, but that's not something that we necessarily even have to mention because it's just built. It's a built-in component of Sark's system, right? And he marries that well, the misdirection and the motion at the snap and things like that, perfectly already, right? He's brilliant with the play design stuff, but literally, man, I tried to just simplify it in my head and then also convey the same message is, look, when you're pulling guys and running counter things, and when you're trying to go outside zone, which is a little bit more plotty type east to west, right? It's not as effective, and so it's literally like the way that for fans to process this just as simply as possible. Fire off the football and blow your man off, like win with leverage, pad level, right? The stuff that we had to apparently Kyle Flood had to mention at halftime last week to get his guys to lock it in, Yeah. It's those types of things, man. It's just win your matchup. They got a first round edge, a second round edge. Guess what? We got a first round tackle and another potential first round tackle. So our best versus your best. Let's go. It's the Final Four for a reason. Let's get after it, So
Duo and power, huh?
That's it. And not even necessarily like you got to hit them with, and it's got to be a multifaceted array of attack here, but that needs to be more so the foundation as opposed to outside zone, which has been sort of traditionally our bread and butter this season. But another thing too, man, Kyle Flood mentioned it. He's like, look, every single year I've been with Sark, and that's I think 8 years now. There is a different component of the running game that there's hyper focus on, and it's just a constant. Mm-hmm. Okay, we cater to the strength of our personnel, but then also we're going to game plan and make adjustments week to week accordingly. And Kyle Flood is just kind of touching on that, what Homer mentioned a second ago. So it was really nice. I got some peace of mind hearing him say that. Like the fans and the media were, offering some layups, right? Like making sure that they're covering all the bases. And then he was definitely reassuring and reaffirmed that. So good stuff.
Matthew, we are absolutely going to hit this question. But before we hit that, let's hear a word from Academy Sports and Outdoors, y'all.
Fun, memories, friendship. We're here for all of it. Here for the big moments and the small ones, too. We're here for unforgettable triumph, momentary misfortune, and the impromptu throwdown. We're out here each day, chasing something great. Call it adventure. Call it play, we call it fun. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there.
Thank you, Academy. All right, let's hit this. Ohio State destroyed cover 3 versus Tennessee and Oregon. Do we need to play a different defense today? So Texas generally plays a match cover 3 defense with a single high safety. You'll see us in a 2 high shell, and then someone will rotate. All week, Ian has been discussing what Michigan does, which is a cover 6, meaning cover 2 to one half of the field and really quarters, but for basics, a cover 4 to the other side of the field. That allows us to keep a safety over top of Jeremiah Smith as well as Jade Barron at corner on him. And then on opposite side of the field with the quarters cover 4 look, that would allow a nickel to be trailing Ibuka with a safety over top to help there too. So that's kind of thing. I texted an NFL player to ask him the same thing. He's a secondary player. And I was like, hey, man, how do you play these two guys? And he said, you want cover 6? I said, we got a 6'3", 14 touchdown Calvin Johnson at the boundary, and then we got a first-round slot. What do we got to do? You know, and he said, cover 6, and then you need to mix in cover 9. Cover 9 meaning like a cover 3, a match 3 style thing. So that's the thing. So we'll see if it happens. PK has a tendency to kind of play his way, and it works so well for him a bunch of the times. There's not a lot of incentive to change, but I will let you guys know that through talking to PK a little bit during the presser, and I don't even know if it was on tape or not. We didn't get to record everything. They are very aware that Ohio State has very good receivers, which would lead me to believe that we'll end up in a more too high situation here than usual, but we'll have to see. But yeah, we don't want to be. What do you say?
You like to think at least a little bit man underneath that too high as well. It's just disrupt timing a little bit more. So get up in their face a little bit, man. Let's attack their elite skill position talent with our own elite skill position talent, right? We're not scared of the moment here. That's sort of the mentality that I prefer. And then Sark alluded to it too. He said, yeah, we want to disrupt timing. How do you do that? You get up in their face a little bit, right? And it's Texas, yes, is a bend but don't break match 3 defense, but they're going to have to roll some coverages to make Will Howard hold onto the football a little bit. And you can also do that too by getting aggressive in the face of some of these receivers. And let's see what we're made of a little bit today. Right. I think they're going to have to do that. So
yeah, look, I'm gonna agree. And you still the Bill Belichick method of, double the best guy, right?
Yeah.
And single up on that side.
They call it Ocho Cinco. They were like double 85.
Yeah, one double 85. But you also got a little bit of cover 5. And what cover 5 is, I think Barron has the ability to do something Belichick used to do also with Asante Samuel. It would look like 2 men under press, but then he'll peel off and play the flats, right? So he look like he's trailing, and then he just turns around and covers the flats. Like, so you think it's total man, and he just spins around. Barron has the athletic ability to actually do that and play man and play zone in 1. So you mix in a little cover 5 and kind of confuse him, which turns in kind of cover 3, cover 6 just a little bit, but it's press man, right? But he's playing the flat zone. So I don't know. You just got to mix it up, man. Like, don't be afraid. You can play some 3 lock, man up in the slide and play zone everywhere else. Like, you can do so many things and mix it up. It just depends. But most important, just get pressure. And I think he won't see the whole field anyway.
Someone did that sobering. They said on the Inside Texas board, though, they were like, Will Howard hasn't been sacked since like November 17th or something.
It's time.
That I was like, yikes. Like they're tough to get to. But what you guys are talking about, switching it up, getting in their face, like if you watch, and Paul's really astute about this all week, a lot of what Howard's doing, especially in their deep game, those are single reads that he's doing.
Yes.
Like he's giving it right to Ibuka, he's giving it right to Smith. If you can change the picture on him, and get him to work in towards a third read, he's a different quarterback. And also, if you can get him to third down, like they're dominating so much on first and second down. But if you start making it to where Will Howard really has to do a lot of the mental load here, because he's not taking a ton of the mental load. There's a lot of motions in the offense and matchup punting, so I think he's doing a lot there pre-snap. But kind of once he decides, like, look, this is too high safety, I'm sending Ibuka between them and I'm throwing it.
Right.
That's when you want to switch it and it not be there. After seeing Howard play for all these years, so I think that's important too. So yeah, we just need to switch it up, man. We can't be predictable because, man, Ohio State's really good at that.
Yeah,
and the whole make Will Howard determine what's happening before snap, right? That's what I mean for anybody who's unaware of. When I say rolled coverages, it's like you're showing him something, one thing pre-snap, and then just breaking into something different. So it's like you're changing the post-snap picture for him, but every quarterback in general, but especially at the college level, struggles with those types of things. So not every defense can execute that and still understand coverage keys at the same time, right? So that's why having a veteran secondary like Texas is, with the Thorpe Award winner comprised, like he's a component of it. You've got an All-American in Michael Taft, and then another guy in Andrew Makuba, who a lot of people that have followed this program this year closely enough would argue it's in the same exact light as the previous two. And even Jade himself told you that in the press conference this week. So
I think Makuba is the best safety right now in the SEC, and I've heard people argue about it with Malachi Starks, but his mix of like intelligence in the pass game, like he's super reading concepts, his picks, and his ability to come willingness to hit in the run game. I think Makuba is playing at a high level.
Really
right
is.
now.
No doubt about it. So
yeah, so that's what's gonna have to be, man. And I'm really interested in Smith versus Barron. Not in pure athleticism. We know who's going to – no one's testing better than Jeremiah Smith. What an incredible player. Like, take yourself away from being a fan. Just you got to appreciate this guy. Maybe not this game and next year when we play him, but I'm not talking about who's going to win in a foot race. But I want to see if Jade can understand the situation and beat him to his route. Hey, this is where Smith is going to go. You know, this kind of stuff. That's what I'm interested in seeing. Can the smart, older Thorpe player beat the incredibly talented young gun in that kind of way? I think is interesting.
Yeah, that'd be key. It'd be key for Smith. He's a smart player for a young guy, but when they're playing zone, does he know when to sit down? He does a fairly good job of it, but maybe they're not on the same page because Texas throws a look that they haven't seen all year. He's like, oh man, was I supposed to stop here? Keep going in my route, you know what I mean? So maybe that affects him being young, but then maybe not because he's just so good. I don't know.
That's a great point though, right? That's kind of been let's relate it to the Texas fans in here as well, to a situation that we're more privy to, right? Ryan Wingo. There's a lot of question about why he's not getting the ball more, why he's not like where are the targets, right? Well, there's a trust factor that has to be built, not just with your quarterback, but also with your play caller, right? Just as a function of the offense. You have to be trusted to, like what Coach is just talking about, when like this happened in the Georgia game, right? They were firing the nickel at us. Same thing with Vanderbilt. He's got to know when to sit. And if he doesn't, because you're changing the post-snap picture all the time, if he's hesitant at all, with a souped-up athlete, freak of nature, generational type player, like obviously Jeremiah Smith, and then it's crazy right now because he hasn't broken out yet, but Ryan Wingo is in the same exact light. At some point in his career, he will be. We just don't. The general public doesn't understand that yet. But with those types of guys, man, there's some between the ears stuff that has to happen as well. And when you're doing these things to alter the quarterback and make him hold on to the football, he's not the only one that you're making guess. You're making potentially young receivers have to second guess things like that as well. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know how astute Jeremiah Smith is just from a processing standpoint. So, but I'm just saying that like what Coach he brings up a great point when you can affect these elite NFL caliber receivers in other ways other than just, hey, good luck sticking and running with them all day.
You're not matching up physically with them. It has to be mental. Well, this kind of feels like Washington last year for how Washington played us when we had Worthy and AD. Remember, Jordan Whittington had to ball out that game. Yeah, and that's how I feel about Carnell Tate. Yes. So if you're able to keep Ibuka and Smith down, which is going to be a tall task, but say you are, Ohio State's not dumb. They know what you want to take away. So it's like, I wonder how much of a focus getting Carnell the ball was this week too. That's still a 5-star receiver.
That's a big guy, can go up and win 50-50 balls too, man. Yeah.
It's like that's their third guy. He's still a hell of a player. So it's like, that's what I'm also interested to see is like
700 yards.
A 5-star NFL guy is an afterthought. That's just nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how we were last year, without Jordan Whittington was a 5-star afterthought, and but he showed up, right? And so that's what I'm interested in. Say Texas does achieve it. Doesn't mean that Carnell Tate can't have a hell of a game. That also means if you're spending all these resources on the receivers, you're going to have tight end, G. Scott, and a ton of one-on-ones, and you're going to have the backs and a ton of one-on-ones. And also, too, the press was like, hey, Anthony, how comfortable are you in man? Versus, like everybody's just warning the players and the coaches the whole time. Like,
I love just chumming the waters like that with, hey, are you paying it? Like asking this Final Four team and with elite athletes all over it. Hey, are you guys paying as much of attention as we are?
Yeah. And that's what even with Anthony, I asked Anthony, because everyone was talking about, hey, what are you guys going to do? Because they're going to go bombs away. I was like, also, Anthony, remember that like these teams throw deep a lot, but they also run a ton of shallow drags. So they're going to be like, there's a lot of like meshy stuff too. So I was also telling them like, you better be ready to cover Jeremiah Smith as well. Yeah. Dude. He's going to be running right in front of you at a couple points, And of course, Anthony was like,
I'm high. Please talk. Everybody talk. Happy head and swivel, please. This is going to be key. I know we had some miscommunication like the last two games. It's kind of showing up. We can't have any of that today. You got to be able to pass guys off because they will go mesh on you when you run man.
And they did that. That's how that opening script against Tennessee was crazy. Like Oregon too, really. But you see them, and Rod Babers mentioned this on Twitter, and I responded to him just to kind of break it down in more layman's terms to help people understand. I feel like that's my place in this industry. I don't know, just relating to the common folk, I guess, as best as I possibly can. But one of the ways to affect the defense like this is to, like Ohio State, I'm speaking of, is to basically, you can play with some tempo when they're as dialed in with their coverage keys, and they're getting the calls relayed in from a quality defensive coordinator like Jim Knowles, right? Same is true for Texas. When you play with tempo, you eliminate some of the all-seeing eye component of it, right? And they're not getting lined up. That's one part. But then also too is unbalanced sets. When you stack one side of the field, you put a defense like any defense in general, but the 3 high in particular, you put them in a bind. And then that's another thing too, though. So like Ohio State clearly knows this because that was their own approach, right? They were putting Tennessee and Oregon in a bind with their unbalanced sets. They were going bunch and stacks to one side of the formation, man, and they were just getting free release after free release all over the place. And it's just a nightmare to deal with because those DBs, they'll tell you, right? The condensed formation offenses in general, like a Steve Sarkisian, like some of what we're seeing now from Chip Kelly. It's a nightmare to deal with because you're having to process not just what your guy is doing, but you're having to navigate traffic with all this different misdirection and rub routes and crosser components of it and all that. So it's free releases, man. And so that's one thing you can do, right? Like both these teams are going to exploit matchups to the point. So to put a ball on it.
When you were talking tempo, Lando, I think that's an interesting aspect because if you look at the Ohio State defense, they're 130th in opponent seconds per play on defense. People are playing incredibly slow against them.
Oh, yeah.
They're 13th in opponent plays per game. So they're not facing a ton of plays. Right. And so what does the team look like when they go against a high tempo game? And, I might be ignorant in saying this because I don't know the breadth of Big Ten offenses. It might just be a stereotype. But generally when I think Big Ten, I don't think of a bunch of tempo teams. And maybe there are out there. Someone correct me, but
no, that's definitely the stereotype I subscribe to as well. With that,
right? But I don't. It's a stereo. I don't know if it's actually accurate. So someone that pays attention to the bottom half of the Big Ten, let me know if that's incorrect. But there's potential there to look at. The problem is the Sarkisian offense is not always super tempo focused because we hunt matchups too. And anytime you're motioning and doing shifts, you're automatically going to be a slower offense.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Paul all week talked about this need for like short passing game, like Coach said, like let's replace the running game in that regard. Let's not be stubborn, but also let's do it quickly and try to put them on the back foot because we've seen what this team can do when they're not on the back foot. So just mentioning tempo kind of triggered that for me. I think it is interesting, but I don't know how much we see it able to play out. It just depends. Is Sark trying to line up and gas him up, or does he want to play chess and all that?
I think the tempo thing falls more if we find out after the opening game script that whatever we thought we could do from an adjustment standpoint in the running game, pivoting from outside zone, if they bottle that up too and we just look like it's going to be another 1 yard in a cloud of dust type situation, that's when you're going to see, okay, plan B, the tempo, here we go, get ready, saddle up. So I kind of think that's – and there's obviously a time and a place for that, right? 2 minute, 4 minute, sure. But I'm talking about outside of that as well. Let's mix that in a little bit, especially like I mentioned, if the running game can't get going.
Right.
Coach, I want you to hit this one. Penix had to throw dots. Quitting. Penix had to throw dots. Will Howard won't do that. Stop giving these dudes too much credit. Coach, I want you to talk because I think this is interesting. We faced a bunch of NFL receivers last year too, and Penix played the game of his life, like not recreating that level again. So we're very freaked out with these receivers, but how do you feel about PK? This is his second year in a row he's faced a room with elite receivers.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Will Howard has bigger, wider windows to throw to because guys just get open. But you look at the throw down the middle versus, I guess you want to say Tampa 2 or Man 2 down the seam last week versus Oregon, like he put it on the money. Like the DB arm was right there.
It wasn't there.
Like Will Howard, he has time to throw the ball. Like any quarterback, most quarterbacks at this level, you give him time, you can pretty much put it in a spot. You look at the throw to cover 6 that Jeremiah Smith went up. He put it where he can only get it, right? He's putting the ball in the right spots, man. So, no, he's not Michael Penix, right? Michael Penix was throwing dots all night. He was consistent. But Will Howard is doing enough to make his team competitive and good enough to beat people. He doesn't have to be perfect because he has so many athletes that make him right. They make him perfect. So he doesn't have to throw dots all game. He just put it in vicinity, and those guys will make him right because they'll go get the ball. Like you look at most receivers, they wait for the ball to kind of fall in their hands. These guys are aggressive. They're going to go get it. They're going to go attack the ball. So that's, I think, the biggest difference with Ohio State and Will Howard. As long as you put it in the area, those guys will go get the ball. And so they make him right a lot of times where he doesn't have to just throw dots single-handedly all game and most receivers just won't do that. I mean, you look at our receivers, how many people actually go aggressively get the ball? Maybe Matthew Golden.
That's it.
Right? Where these guys actually, NFL receivers, these guys go and attack the football. So I think that's the biggest thing. They have to have their quarterback out because it's a team game, and so they do a good job of that.
I have a question. How many – this is for everybody in the chat too, just to kind of get people thinking outside the box a little bit. How different is the narrative this week if you have a quarterback at Arizona State that isn't as ridiculously elusive in the pocket as Sam Leavitt is?
Yeah, Texas would have had 7 sacks if Leavitt just didn't have incredible ability to run.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then also too, on top of that, and I didn't dissect every single throw, but how many tight window throws did Howard have to hit last week and in the Tennessee game? It's different. Like what we saw from Michael Penix, man. NFL type windows.
Well, Penix had like an all-time game. It's like the ball wouldn't even hit the ground.
Yeah.
Then he played Michigan and acted like he couldn't complete anything. It was driving me nuts. But like Will Howard, like that was one of the all-time great like quarterback playoff performances.
Crazy.
So yeah, recreating that. But what Coach said too, like Howard has been throwing some dots the past couple weeks too. Like,
don't get me wrong.
He can throw it in Jeremiah Smith's area code. You don't have to do a lot of work, but Howard also, was also hitting them some. So that's a compared Quentin Dots compared to A Dot. Yeah, no one's saying no one's having a Penix game. I remember just like scratching my head last year and being like, what is going on? But but I think it is important with Quentin. The base thing that he's pointing out is like, look, man, we faced really good wide receivers last year too.
Yep.
And remember, we had
Nolan's doing, and he was considered to be like at the time because he was coming back from injury. He's had the most success this season of any of the three, and he was probably the least notable between him, Jalen Polk, and Rome Odunze, and he's balling out right now for Tampa Bay. Watch him this weekend. You don't see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and like Jeremiah Smith is physically a freak, but Odunze is one of the best receivers I've ever seen with the ball in the air.
Yeah.
And so he was doing
that's his superpower, right?
Yeah. Like so he was doing incredible stuff too. And remember, our secondary was a lot worse last year. We didn't have the intelligence or the foot speed.
No question.
Especially at the safety position, right? Like,
God
bless us, but like you could run right by us. This year, that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
That's what I think was going to be interesting here too, guys. All right,
before we keep going, 14. Troy, come on, dog.
Believe in us. Before we keep going, guys, Academy Sports and Outdoors. I was actually over there 3 days ago when I was doing a little bit of my journalism on Wednesday. I had to get me a nice 3/4 fellas. And I went to Academy. Yeah, they had it was looking nice. So, guys, it's cold outside, so you're probably not going to do New Year, New You. But all the gym equipment, all that stuff will help you out. But what you can do is go get gear, right? Jackets and all that stuff. If you're in the Dallas area, which I am, you have been fighting these frigid temperatures, guys. So, as always, top brands at prices you'll love. Academy also makes it easy, guys. In-store, curbside pickup, or online at academy.com. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. The official retail sporting goods store of the SEC. But yeah, I was over there just a couple days ago, guys, and got some good stuff. All right.
I love the smell of that place. It'll never get old to me. It's like my childhood.
You just go in there for the scents.
The smells, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I guess while we have a quick break, we forgot to mention and acknowledge, I think definitely worth mentioning both of these two teams here, for me at least, and we don't have to spend a ton of time dwelling on it, but just the boldness that so many of these players are just professing their faith to the public, man, and just standing for what they believe in.
Like a tent revival, dude. I don't know what it is, but like every single player is just like talking about their faith like all the time. It's interesting on this team.
And then on top of that, on a less serious note, well, depending on who you ask, we should probably give a little bit of credit to our little brother, School Out East over there, for officially having the most credible loss of the season now that Notre Dame is headed to the national championship.
Yeah.
So shout out to little bro for growing up right before our very eyes. We appreciate y'all. I had some A&M fans chirping in my ear like right before we hopped on, so I was a little spiteful walking into this live here. So excuse me for that.
But I think you're right, Lando. When you're talking about
good for y'all, proud of you.
The team's talking, but I like it, man. The team's talking about their faith and stuff like that. It's showing me that there's like a culture and a cohesion here.
That it is.
Yeah, because like I'm telling you, man, like we're doing these interviews, no one's asking anything about faith, but they're all getting to that in separate ways, and that's been interesting. And I've noticed that all year. It's like players often will give props to God. I do this for God, but this team is like very intense with that. And like I said, from all the different positions, I've heard it several times, and same on Wednesday. So it shows me that at least they have there's a common thread here that they're pulling on, which I think is important for team culture.
No question. It's bigger than football.
Yeah. So let me see. What about their 3 other losses? Yeah. A&M got to play 2 playoff teams, man. Now they won't mention that they lost to those 2 playoff teams, but they'll let you know. What did you guys think of that game last night, Penn State, Notre Dame? I thought it was a great game.
Physical.
I liked it. Defensive game. I thought Notre Dame quarterback pulled his best Sam Ellinger impression. I mean, that's what he is essentially, right? But I mean, it was a great defensive game. I was happy. It was good to see Notre Dame actually fight back, because I didn't know. I thought they were going to get blown out at first, but they found a way and adjusted. It's like, okay, maybe they are for real. Maybe that.
Man, I like Freeman.
I do. I like
Freeman. Unless we got to play him next week, then I'll hate him. But man, I like that guy, dude. Like just his calm and like his no nonsense. They're always asking him questions. What they ask him at halftime? They're like, "Oh, did you say at halftime not to panic?" And he looked at her like, "We're not gonna panic. Like, that's not what this is, you know." And like, I just thought it was funny. He's like, "This team doesn't panic, man." I also like that Brian Kelly said he couldn't win there, and then Marcus Freeman was able to do it. So. Now I got to be honest, and these might be famous last words. Neither of those teams freaked me out, right? Like if you survive Ohio State, I'm like, I felt good about that side of the bracket, especially how it ended, right? Notre Dame did win, but Allard threw that silly pick. It would have been at least 0-0. We would have been going to overtime.
He really should have had 3 of them, if we're being honest about. Like he backflipped YOLO's balls way too often, man. It's kind of just been an Achilles heel for that team this year. Yeah. It should have been them 2 other times, 3 total in that game.
Their wide receiver they didn't have a wide receiver catch. Like Justin in the group chat was harping on that all night. But like to not have a wide receiver make a catch to like the end of the that's crazy. Now I also had given my respect to the tight end Warren for Penn State.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hadn't paid enough attention to him. Man, that's a good player.
That's a good.
Bro, their opening script, they've got him running Wildcat. Like he is everything for that offense.
Dude, remember that he was Wildcat quarterback and he missed and he had to sprint. He got the corner as like a 260-pound tight end, like was able to juke someone. I was like, what is going on, man?
That dude's different.
That was an impressive player. Notre Dame, though, man, like seems like a solid executing team, like respect, but like Riley Leonard doesn't freak me out. What are they going to get? Jaden Greathouse? Like, shout out Jaden Greathouse. We wanted him at Texas, but like, there's not scary receivers, like speed.
That was his breakout performance yesterday. He hadn't
second touchdown this season, I thought, right? So
yeah, it was. So those teams don't scare me.
Oh, man, I'll tell you this: they don't have. Well, I think what the numbers are staggering. Like on the season, Texas has almost doubled up Ohio State in total penalties and penalty yards.
Yeah,
that's where Notre Dame wins. It's the details, right? The attention to detail. They don't beat themselves, right? They won't beat themselves. And that's another storyline that we haven't even touched on yet for this game, right? I mean,
Ohio State, seventh.
Ohio State does little things right. Texas has struggled with that, so that's a factor. And
Ohio State, one of the
on the kicking game, right? Is kicking even a factor? Like, at what point? How far from the goal line do we have to be to say, okay, yeah, let's kick this here? Or to where you're essentially eliminating that, like
gotta be 4th and 17.
Yeah,
you know, like that. But truthfully, man, you have to go for it. But also the problem is we're really bad in the red zone. So it's like both of our options here are bad. Like you kick it, not going to go well. We're also not a good power run team in short distances. So it's just like that's the problem with Texas, and that's what's weird. Like you said, penalties per game, Ohio State is 7th. Texas is like 98th. Texas can't score in the third quarter. Ohio State's one of the best third quarter scoring teams in the country. Texas offense doesn't work without outside zone. Ohio State's one of the best outside zone run defending team. It's like that's what's frustrating with the matchup is like everywhere that Texas has shown weakness and inconsistency, Ohio State is right there doing it well.
Yep.
And so that's where it's going to be tricky because my thing is like Texas could be tied up and it's the fourth quarter, and guess what? We're going to false start on their 30, and put ourselves out of field goal range. So it's like that's what I'm scared of. But it's like if Texas plays their best game of the season, like then let's do it. Like this is going to be a fun game,
Yeah. That's another thing too. Also, Homer, to where it's like, yeah, you're kind of damned if you do or don't as far as going for it in the red zone on fourth down or kicking. But the thing is that it's a necessary factor to consider is what that does, just that mentality. Like when you establish early on, and I'm assuming that Coach Sark and Kyle Flood and company have established all week in prep that, hey, we're going to be very hyper aggressive here in this game because of it's the hand we were dealt. Okay. Right. Let's all get on the same page right now. And I'm talking 10 days ago, 9 days ago, however long ago it was when they first started this prep. I guess it's probably been 7 since they've been actively focusing on Ohio State in practice. But when you announce that, when the whole world, especially your opponent, knows that weighs on a defense, man, when they have to lock in, even if it's just one more play where they got to buckle up the chin strap and win in a phone booth and get a stop on 4th and short or whatever the case, those things adding up over the course of a game, that's more wear and tear. That's just giving Texas that closing games down the fourth corner. That's just sort of adding to what we've seen them have a lot of success in doing and just kind of leaning on people. And so, obviously a much different opponent tonight, but those things matter, man. If it's the psychological warfare involved with these types of matchups, man, everything's got to be on the table. And I think that's one of them. You're just forcing Ohio State just to be like, damn, they're 0 for 3 on fourth down, but it's only the second quarter. We got to do this 6 more times throughout this game. Just get them thinking like that, and that stuff adds up. But I'm probably overthinking, but that's the way my brain works. So,
yeah, I want to see Ohio State
better than underthinking.
I want to see them go into panic mode because they've been having so much success. You're going to be looking for the deep ball. You're going to be looking for the explosive play. And when you're not getting it, like you've been getting in the last few games, you're like, man, are we struggling? Like, I want to see some self-doubt in their mind. Hopefully it's there.
Yeah.
And we make them drive the field. And like, man, but because if we can't, then we're in for a long day. But
I just want to make them work, man.
Make them work. I just want them to have some self-doubt because they've been explosive. And you get used to that. You're like, oh, we're going to go out here and dominate and have all these big plays. And then you don't. Then what happens, right? What kind of team do you become? What kind of coach do you become, Ryan Day? That's going to be key.
That's a great point, too. And you know what? You just reminded me, Coach Doug, because I think that's one of the most profound things I heard all week. And I want to say it was Ian that mentioned it. He was saying, okay, this is they've gone through an identity change, right? Since that Michigan loss on November 30th. They're a completely different team. And so they haven't been tested yet and hit in the mouth since that identity change. So that's their plan A. Their plan A has turned them into a juggernaut over the course of 2 games. But if Texas matches up better than the previous 2 opponents do to what they are trying to do now as part of their attack, their plan of attack, how do they respond when plan A doesn't work? What do they fall back on? Those types of things. So I thought that was a really good point, though. Like Ohio State hasn't had to pivot back from their pivot, you know what I'm saying? And have to sort of make those adjustments. So it's a chess match within the game from a coaching perspective that we're kind of hinting at here. And I think that's very important to note right now.
Yeah. And PK, if he does one thing on defense is, we don't give up explosives. You make them work. You just don't want them, Jeremiah Smith, to be on 2-play drives. Like they can score all day, man. But if you have, please do it in 12 and 14 plays, that's where you just don't want to give up the easy stuff because that's where it gets really tricky. But I agree with you, Landon. They've had 2 weeks of a really strong uptrend, and everyone has said that like this team's unbeatable. And if they keep playing at this rate, they are. Yeah. But psychologically, who's gotten fat and happy this week? Ohio State has been fed nothing but positives. Yeah. Like if I'm Ryan Day, I'm like coming up with anything to try to knock them down because they just have heard, hey, this is pretty much in the bag. Y'all are going to, you're going to go win this thing if you guys play like that. Texas has been the inverse. Yeah. But
Sure.
yeah, I just want to see what happens when it works. And when Howard gets to that third read, what happens when they have to play for third downs and they're not just marching them down the field? What happens? Now, it could be that they answer all these questions with they can do that as well, but we still want to see that.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you see the quote or the comment here from Greg Allen?
Let me see.
And I'll add a little bit of further context on that.
The not
too.
severely one?
Yeah, he's basically saying that I don't know who he knows or where he's getting his information from.
Bond?
Basically saying that that Bonds, is not going to be 100% in a Texas uniform ever again. That's usually what happens. Like when you have a high ankle sprain, it's going to be something that lingers for a long time. And then when you re-injure the same high ankle sprain, then you're not going to be 100% at all.
Was it Georgia where he got rolled up on again and you saw how pissed he was? Because he had been working on it and then he got rolled up on and hurt his ankle again. You saw he just like, there we go, man. And on the depth chart, Wingo's ahead of Bond, the one that they gave the journalist. So yeah, the Bond's value has much more been like running off safeties, that's what we need him to do, basically out there running sprints. But it is unfortunate, man. That one's a bummer.
See, when Wingo starting
for that injury, by the way.
Yeah, but also, man, I still wouldn't be surprised. Like Bond could actually have a game, right? Like
absolutely,
yeah, he could.
But absolutely. High ankle springs are notorious to reag super easily.
Some things suck, man.
So we've been able to hype Ohio State. I think we've given them the credit. How does Texas win? What does a Texas win look like?
Go ahead, Coach.
Play clean. I think we already mentioned that. Play clean. No self-inflicting penalties, especially when we get in the red zone, right? That's terrible. Those are drive killers and point killers because we can't make field goals, obviously. But the biggest thing is stop their running game, right? Because I don't think he's not a drop back passer. Well, Howard, he's not a great drop back passer. Everything's off motion, RPO, or play action, right? And get the ball to athlete's hands. So we can stop their running game, slow it down, make them one-dimensional. I think we have a better chance. Now we can kind of pin our ears back and fly and go get him. Like, make him a drop back passer. Let's see if he can really beat you with this arm, right?
Yeah.
The pass is coming. You can cover those guys. So stop their running game is key to me because I think that's what they're really going to try to key. I know they got Jeremiah Smith, Abuka, Cardinal Tate, but I think they're going to try to match up Henderson and the tight end versus all linebackers and get them in space because, it's not that great of, pass coverage. I think that's the key to the game. So we can stop the run game, take the running backs out of it, make them a non-factor, make Will Howard a drop back pass. I think Texas has a really good chance to win.
Same exact thought process here, Coach. I'll just phrase mine a little bit differently, just to kind of spice up the stream a little bit. It's really for me. Can we stop their run with an honest box?
Yeah,
right? Without having to load it. Okay, and then we can even take that a step further if we want to. Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Jermaine Lole, Bill Norton. Them boys being disruptive up front, like penetrating and pushing a gap. Texas is going to be just fine and right where they want to be whenever, late in the second half. That's it right there. Because the other three, the skill position players out wide for them, they're going to get theirs, But then if you also have that with Judkins and Henderson going for, combining for 160 and 3 or 2 or whatever, even if they're not getting in the end zone, it don't matter.
It's
if they're marching for 5-6 a clip, you don't have you're done.
Yeah.
You get marched out of the field. So, man, being Texas's defensive front being disruptive the way that I know that they're capable of, and their center got some things
out.
Yeah. So
this is film guy over at Georgia. He covers Georgia. He made a good point that this is only second time in the season that Ohio State will see a 6-man box. Michigan was the only one that had the confidence to do it against them. So can we stop that? Can we stop it? And that's the big thing. And I agree. Now, Texas is notorious like that. We almost always have a 6-man box. PK prefers to play that way.
Yep.
We will rotate down our cover 3, but we play with light boxes all the time. So this is not out of the ordinary for us. Yeah. But that's what Jeremiah Smith and Abuka do to you. They force you to keep safeties up high and therefore lighten the box. Now, if you can keep safeties up high and play the run game honest and shut it down,
Exactly.
now you're going to have them frazzled, right? Because you'd have any defense or offense frazzled if you can do that.
Yep.
So that's the answer, man. If you can keep safeties up top and still stop the run, all right, now we're cooking. All right, so that I agree. So keep safeties up top, but stop the run with the honest box. Now there's something going on. I would also add get them to third downs, get them to think.
Yep.
That's the big thing. Now on the flip side, so say you do frustrate Ohio State, and I know a lot of the numbers like have this game actually surprisingly low scoring. Like the analytics guys have it like
20 to 17 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Like that, both of these teams have not faced this level of defense, and so both of them should be lower than we think. Hopefully. Okay, cool. So say we do our job versus Ohio State and are able to do the Michigan game plan. How does Texas score? How are they scoring points?
I think
you knotting up the outside the hashes.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Stay away from between the hashes. Stay away from the middle of the field. All right, for Caleb Downs to be lurking. No floaters today, but
yeah,
attack those corners. Like I don't know how the referee's going to call this game, but they grab a ton. Right, they're always in trail technique. They try to get their hands on it. If you can make a miss at the line, they're going to grab and tug. A couple pass interferences can really change the momentum of a game, right? It'll get you down the field, get you on, first down, on third down, whatever the case. Attack their corners. I think it's very, very key. And if you're able to match up a motion where you get one-on-one with their safeties, especially with Ransom, who's a bigger guy, one-on-one down the field, man, I'm trying to go by him. I didn't want to say the other word because I don't want to get shut down. But throw it deep on him. See if he can cover. Because he's gained a lot of weight. He's not the same safety. He's more of in the box guy now. So that's what I would do. Try to work my matchups with motion. Get him on DeAndre Moore running the slot fade, something like that. I don't know. That's what I would probably do.
And I agree, Coach. And then free release. I know we're going to get some sideline shots out of bunch formation. Mm-hmm. Free releases up the seam, man. I'm telling you, it's coming. And Quinn's just got to him. And we've seen him do that at a much higher clip lately. Like he's hitting his stride at the right time right now. He threw all throughout the game last against Arizona State, man, he was hitting some ridiculous, like I'm talking NFL type windows all over the place. Multiple different fourth downs to Matthew Golden, a couple up the sideline on 3rd and 10. He's just confident right now. And Homer, you were at the press conference at the Gaylord Texan, right? You saw him. We had this discussion already, but the entire world could see how poised, how controlled, how relaxed he was, and it seems like to me that's a dude that's in flow state right now. And I just, look no further than 4th and 13 or 4th and force field, as I like to call it. It tells you all you got to know right there, man. That's 4th and season. And check, makes the check. They pick up the in max protection, essentially what was an all-out blitz, right? And he delivered a dot in the paint. So, yeah, I'm confident with the quarterback situation, too. I really don't think there's any reason, even before last week, to be too concerned with that. But I know a lot of people are.
Just none of those weird floaters, like, because like he was
the deep post floaters.
Yeah, because like he had good deep balls, but he also threw that pick, and there was one to Wingo in the end zone that should have been picked. Same thing, just leaving it up there. So it's like, man, throw, but like, man, you can't be doing that with Caleb, whoever, man, you can't be doing that. But and Ian pointed this out to me. Outside on the corners, Burke have had some issues. Oregon's proven that you can throw for some yards against them.
Yeah, still underneath.
Don't be stubborn with the run game. I do not care, coaches. I'll never doubt your masculinity. If you abandon the run here, you guys are still men. If you guys decide to pass, so don't let the ego ball wear up. And hey, man, let Quinn sling it. Like he did it versus Washington last year. We didn't finish it, but man, Quinn like somehow in these weird games will come out just slinging it. And like that's what I want to see, man.
I want to see. Yeah.
Now their pass rush is for real, but I don't know what to say when we got 2 first-round NFL tackles. We're about as well positioned as you can be for pass rush, and so it's like let's see how that goes. But yeah, I think if the Texas win is that they're able to pass outside. Golden has a big game. Bond does something. If we do someone break it, man, maybe like a quick screen to Wingo, a quick screen to Bond, let him try to run. And of course, I think if we have like Texas runs for 130, I feel good too.
Absolutely. Silas Bolden is an interesting X factor in this matchup to me too. He's a problem in space, or even like you see him. He kind of reminds me a lot of Kevontae Turpin. Like we just saw Kevontae Turpin touch the football and get some carries in between the tackles. Man, those little jitterbugs like that. It's a much.
He's also not scared over the middle. Like he'll take it. Yeah,
he's fearless. So just find ways to get the ball to your best athletes in space, man, and you're gonna have a chance. So I'm excited to see that. I want to see Silas Bolden touch the football a couple times today.
Yeah. Either way with me, man, this is kind of like I'm really tough on the team and critical like in season, but once we get to like this level, man, where the margins are so thin, I just have fun regardless of how it goes, unless we get just the break speed off of us. But man, this level of the semifinals and then being in the finals and stuff, man, it's just like, man, this is just fun to enjoy it. I'm hypercritical mostly because I want to get to these situations. But once we're in these situations, man, however it goes, I generally like it. Unless we just get skunked, then I'm going to be grumpy. But
yeah, man, it's a blessing to be in this position. Just 2 years in a row, nonetheless. It's just
where we were for the past.
Where we were,
yeah. It's cool. So it's like you gotta appreciate it. Homer, you will be mad post game. Yeah, no. I'm trying to
win or lose. He's gonna be mad. That's what he's saying.
Well, it's like no. Also, I'm just generally in the post game, especially the night games. I was like very tired. Yeah. And Paul thinks I'm mad. I'm not mad. I'm just like mentally kind of fried. So I've been thinking about the game all. But we'll see. Ryan, there's a chance for sure. I always I won't be mad.
One game this year I didn't rewatch. I couldn't stomach it again, dude. It was chaos because it was right in the middle of the day, and I just already felt guilty in general because it felt like the game was dragging. It was super stressful, and my daughter just wanted to play, and I was like, I couldn't be the dad that I needed to be and that she wanted me to be in that moment. And I was just like, can this game end right now before I lose my mind, dude? This is
yeah.
I only watched it. I watched the all 22 because I made that video breakdown. But it was like, that one wasn't I thought I was gonna want to watch it because it was such a close, tight, fun win. But hopefully that game was just a good thing for us.
Yeah.
And we were able to kind of use that as fuel. Because man, it was crazy the week. The corny thing was all the Big 12 is like, man, Arizona State proved that they belong. I'm like, that's loser talk. You don't belong whenever you say things like almost winning showed that we belong. It's like, guys, that's not how it works. If Texas fans were like, at least we showed we belonged, that would let you know that we don't belong.
It's all the A&M chatter after Notre Dame's win last night. See, I told you losing to Notre Dame was a quality loss. Told you.
Yeah.
Homer, I don't know how to read defenses. Can you tweet during the game if we're running the cover 6 Ian's been talking about all week versus if we're typically in our scanner cover? Yeah, I'll tweet if I see cover 6.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah, and follow Coach too. Follow Landon too.
Yeah.
Also, but all right, guys, here we go. I'm saying I'm not nervous. I felt nervous last week, I think, but it is what it is, man.
Pat McAfee just did an emphatic horns down.
No way.
Yeah, he's a West Virginia guy. What do you expect?
Yeah, of course.
But all right, fans, this is fun. It might be our last ride. Who knows? But I enjoyed this pregame.
It's a fun year, dude.
I'm ready to go, man. I just need one play. I want to go.
Yeah, I'm about to go like cannonball into the snow in my boxers real quick, just to like give me a little wake up call, like get that norepinephrine release, just get wired. I might as well just run through my drywall in here as well, just to kind of set the tone for the game. We got a Corso horns up though, so that's
you're right with Texas.
I wanted it to be Ohio State across the board. I was kind of hoping that's what he would do.
Do you see the Notre Dame Leprechaun almost took out Corso last night on that pregame? He was dancing with Corso and he almost knocked him over. He caught him, thank God.
Oh my God! Imagine that scene.
Yeah, it was close. Luckily, he was all good. But wow. All right, guys. As soon as the clock strikes zeros as well, we will be on for the post game. Rain or shine. Looking forward to it, guys. Enjoy the game, and of course, this episode was brought to you guys by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Hook 'em, y'all. Have fun. Enjoy it. Cotton Bowl time.
Let's go.